but maybe I do need another one, because like, you made that yourself, didn't you, kind of vibes. Hi, we're back, and I am so excited to share with you all of the things that I've finished since the beginning of this month and the things I've started and am making progress on, share with you my whip woes. The longest work in progress that is now an FO is my LUCCA Hat. This is by Suzanne Mueller. It is a crochet hat. Gotta take the hair down so you can actually like see it. Made out of raffia yarn, and I shared previously that I maybe wouldn't recommend this to anybody, and I don't know that I would ever work with this material again because how hard it was on my hand, how unlikely I was to frog it if there was a mistake or an issue in sizing. You know, a lot of projects I don't mind saying like, yeah, I'll just go back and redo it if the size doesn't come out right. But for this, because it was such a drag on the hands, I don't know that I would repeat it. That being said, now that it's done, I'm like, but maybe I do need another one, because, well, let me just show you. So I used all three spools of yarn that I had gotten from Amazon. Let me just pause and get you guys a better angle here. Okay, so you're a little higher now. I used all 3 balls that I had purchased from Amazon, and it's just this raffia paper yarn. And I like it. Like, I've used it a couple times out in the sun, and it does a really good job of shielding my face. So that's so great for like whenever I want to be outside and not be getting more and more freckles. But a few things that I wish I'd done differently. I did not think that this was gonna fit, and so last time I told you guys that like I'd made some major increases here and changed needles or hook sizes to compensate for the fact that it was not looking like it was gonna work out. Now it feels way too big. Like, I have a lot of hair, and even with all my hair, I'm worried that this is gonna like fly away. The other thing is, because I ran out of yarn while I was working on this portion is still pretty wavy compared to like what is this supposed to be. So while I'm really thrilled to have it, I'm really tempted to make another one. I think I need to get a little bit more amnesia from like the hand and arm strain that this gave me before I do it again. And I'm a little tempted to design my own. Like, I was browsing through Ravelry and looking at the different hats available, and the style that I was thinking about designing is not there. And so it's like, maybe there's room in the market for me to make my own. So I'm not gonna start on that yet, but maybe come next spring we'll be seeing another version of this hat. It's supposed to be like a fedora sun hat thing, and is definitely giving that in a sort of like, you made that yourself, didn't you, kind of vibes. But super thrilled to have this finished. My mother-in-law was like, will you make me one? And I'm like, I don't think so. Like, I love you a lot, but I don't know that I love you that much. So we'll see. If I have success with my own design, maybe I will make her one using my own design. So anyway, this was on the hooks from like March 22nd to March 22nd to June 16th or something like that. So super thrilled to have this finished. After I filmed last time, I just sat down and like made myself finish this before the end of the month. That's right, I finished it like the very end of June, so it must have been like June 28th or something. It was a little bit more than like a 2-month period to get it all worked up, but super glad I have this. I have to store it like on my shelf so that it doesn't get wrinkled or ruined, but if you are thinking about making a hat, just go into it forewarned that this yarn is not super friendly. So ta-da! So these are my flutter bat shorts by Jessie Made Design. I used Swish from Knit Picks. I have since learned that this color is pronounced Kenai, and the color I used for the drawstring is called Marsala, like curry marsala or tikka marsala. And I made the fourth size for myself. I did do some modifications. As I talked about last time, I did some additional short rows. I also did a like sewn in elastic waistband and just used the drawstring to kind of bring up any slack. And I love these, you guys. When I left you last, I just pretty much had a few more stitches to go, and then I was splitting for a few more rounds to go, and then I was splitting for the legs and doing the ruffle. And sure enough, that actually went by faster than I had anticipated. It's kind of weird to hold these up because it kind of looks like I've got like a swimsuit bottom down here. I did not follow the pattern faithfully when it came to the ruffles. I was telling my husband, I was like, I just don't need ruffles in my crotch. So I did the ruffles everywhere else around the legs, and I think this is just such a cute pattern. I will probably make it again in the next size down because these are quite large on me. That was the plan to begin with. I wanted a really relaxed, comfy bed short, but now that this is done, I'm like, I could wear these out if they were slightly more appropriate. So, needless to say, I am like dreaming about that, but I've got so many other things I want to make. So I probably won't cast on another pair of these for a while. Plus, I don't even have yarn in stock that I would want to use for these. This is like a silk, I think it's 30% silk, 70% wool. So TBD in terms of how well they hold up long term. I will say, since casting these off, outside of the time I was blocking them, I have probably worn these every day or every other day since they were finished, to the point that they are actually already starting to get like a little bit of a halo. There have been moments where I'm like, oh, is that a pill already? But I don't care. Like, they're going in my sheets, they're pants, for Pete's sake, like their shorts, they're gonna get a little distressed. Something I think is a little interesting, and I don't know that I'm actually going to be able to like capture it here on camera, is you may be able to see that like these stitches up here look a lot smoother and more even, and these look a lot more sheer and see-through. And part of that is maybe the way I'm holding it, but a bigger part of it is that I did a full like 24-hour block for this portion right here, probably like there, so that I had an idea of how this was gonna be fitting, if it was gonna grow, etc. So it soaked for about 24 hours, this portion. Then I did a really quick, maybe hour-long block once the whole project was finished for this portion. And I am noticing a really big difference in the uniformity of the stitches, how well the material bloomed. And I think I need to go back and do like a real soak for the finishing touch. I'm not too worried about it because it's not like I'm wearing these out, but I find it so interesting. I just saw a while back another YouTuber talking about like how long do you really need to block your or like soak your knits when blocking. And the YouTuber, I can't remember who it was, but they were basically like, yeah, you can't just like dip it in there and call it good. Like, you have to soak it. You have to let those fibers really get saturated and absorb the water and relax and kind of like float around and become all loose and comfortable with their neighbors. And so I've just, after watching that video and then seeing this happen in my own knit, I just thought, oh my gosh, that is so interesting that that worked out that way. So yeah, love these. Nothing else to say except for that if you do want to make these, I would recommend that you make the modifications that I made. I don't think the I-cord is really it for the elastic. Like, using an actual elastic band in here has been really nice. I will say mine has shifted around a little bit, so I've had to rework it and make sure it's straight again. And then I would definitely add short rows if you are a little fuller in the hips and waist like I am. So that is my Flutter Butt Shorts by Jessie Made Design. I mentioned last time I want to make a top in the Marsala with the Kenai as a contrast. Not started on those yet, spoiler. But I have some other cool whips. Before we get to those, I have 2 more FOs to show you. and then we'll be into whip territory. So enough of that. A while ago, when my daughter was a really little baby, I would wear her and go walk around my neighborhood for just time outside, fresh air for both of us, postpartum recovery, like trying to avoid any kind of depression. And so I would walk and work on projects. And so I started crocheting a monster. This pattern is from Ed's Imaginarium by Terry Lord. She has this incredible mix and match monster book that I have made all of the monsters you can imagine from that book, probably over 100. And so this was just using up some scrap yarn. I had a single ball of this like variegated purple wine color, and I don't even know what it was. It was a mystery ball, but something from Hobby Lobby. So I was just gonna use that up with a little bit of like scrap yarn to give her more of a face. And I got this done. I was so proud of myself for finishing it and using up all of the yarn. And then when I was digging through my yarn stash, I found a little tiny ball. And I don't know if you can tell, these legs are a little stubby. She's also got like a little sad ponytail, like it's not a real tail. And I had wanted to do a real tail, and I also had wanted to make these legs longer because it looks a little cooler that way. And so now I'm kind of mad because I totally can make those modifications, but I was doing the happy dance that this thing was done. And I basically, since like picking it out of my hibernating pile, redid the arms, finished up legs. The body and head was already done, but then I added like the horns, and then assembled it all. So it wasn't like a ton of crochet to get it finished, but I'm mad because this was in the done category, and now, to be honest, in the back of my mind, it's like, but it might not be done. You could make it better. So anyway, done, but maybe coming back. I probably won't bring her back on the podcast, but I may just verbally tell you guys like, hey, here's a picture of what I ended up doing whenever I get up the interest, motivation to unpick the feet and add length, and then same thing with like adding the tail, and then we truly will have used up the entire ball of yarn. So here's one of my FOs that nobody cared about or asked about and nobody was anticipating, but here we have it. So I just love her. I love little feminine weird monsters. So here she is. Let me show you the other amigurumi crochet thing that I finished. We spoke a little bit about Greta Hen last time, but ta-da! She's done! And she is looking way more glamorous and way different than the very sad, understuffed Greta Hen that was on here at the beginning of the month. So here she is with her feet. She doesn't actually really like stand up super well because the body is so heavy, but I can't tell you how thrilled I am to have her with these little tail feathers and this shawlette. Like, if you ever make this, you have to do the shawlette. In fact, I think I might make one for myself, like as a bandana. This was just scrap yarn I had from what was it, the Dunes tee or blouse that I made a while back. But this is the little shawlette. My husband's like, maybe it could be a bikini, and I'm like, no. It's not gonna be a bikini. But like, she just doesn't quite look as polished. She's great, but she looks a little bit like a country hen. And then you add her little shawlette and she is all of a sudden very sophisticated, very chic. Boho chic maybe, but she's got some pizzazz. I may also make her some others just so that my daughter can kind of like change her out. And when this was finished, Pearl would go like this to her, which I don't know why, but I just love to see a toddler cuddle with their toys. So Greta Hen's done. Not a whole lot to say about getting her finished, except one thing. I know I talked last time about having to go out and buy a whole new skein of this terracotta color. Guess who found the partial skein that she already owned in her yarn stash? Yeah, this girl. So I at one point was keeping yarn in my closet, in the cupboard in Pearl's room, which was my office before she was born. So there's still yarn in there, and then back behind me. So I kind of had yarn in 3 places, and I told myself, oh, and out on display in my bedroom. So I told myself, I'm like, your poor husband, like, he did not sign up for this. You need to get your yarn together. So I rounded up from the different miscellaneous places in the house and then consolidated it. And while I was in the yarn cupboard in Pearl's room, which is still being used for yarn cupboard, but it's like the acrylic yarn that I'm not really super into right now, I found in a bottom cubby, like I have most of that acrylic yarn together in the main cubby, but there's like a very bottom shelf cubby that also has like beads and jewelry wire and things like that. And it was tucked down there. So anyway, now I have a lot of this terracotta color. I'm glad that I like it. Like, I will definitely use it, as I assured you guys last time. But yeah, I now have more. So anyway, that's enough about the FOs. Let's talk about my whips, because there's a few, not too many, but I am, like everybody else on the internet it seems, trying to get my whips under control. That we're going to bring out next. I actually had started telling you guys and showing y'all a little bit in the last episode at the very end. This is the Sea Sweater. It is a free pattern, and the pattern designer, hang on, I wrote notes, is by Yuko Shimizu, maybe? I am making the second size, and while I was writing my notes for today's video, I realized I have mostly been making the second size, but when I went to pick up the arms and do the sleeves, I followed the instructions for the third size, because often I'm the third size, and my uncle's sweater is also in the third size, and so like my brain was just looking at that third category of numbers. So oops, but hopefully it's okay in the end. Let me see, this is quite a large sweater. So I have finished the front panel, and I'll have to like put in some pictures for you of me wearing it, because it's kind of hard to show right now. And I have just this morning picked up the back and have started knitting back and forth on that portion. I have maybe 20 back and forths total to do, and I've done about half of them, I think, so maybe like 10 more. So 20 rows left total. Why couldn't I have just said that? Anyway, and then I have started on the sleeves. When I got the body to like a pausing point, I thought, let's go ahead and work on the sleeves. So I did that until I ran out of my ball of yarn, and I worked on the sleeves at the same time. So they're the same length, which is kind of cool to be able to do that. I just pulled from the inside of the ball for one sleeve and the outside of the ball for the other sleeve. There was one point in that process towards the end of the ball, which is kind of weird that it happened at the end, when I already been working easy peasy no problem for like the first shoulder cap portion, that you know that team building exercise where like everybody holds hands like a pretzel and then you have to like untangle yourselves without letting go? That's what I felt like I was doing with these, my like magic loop needles and the ball of yarn. It was all kinds of like, if I twisted it just the right way and turned the sweater right correctly, it worked out and we were not tangled at all. But definitely the last, I don't know, 20% of that ball of yarn was a little like harrowing because of that. So I mentioned last time that this was for me a very easy pattern to follow. It's got a lot of short row shaping, but I have done enough short rows that it's no longer stressful for me. But I will say that like there were moments in the sleeves where I was like, okay, yeah, like I'm doing this correctly. And it just has to do with the fact that like you've got more fabric in the back, so you're traveling a little further of a distance in the back than you are in the front in this pattern. And so, yeah, I did okay. The one thing that I realized is a little bit of a problem for when you're working flat versus when you're working in the round. And I don't know that it'll show super clear here, but yeah, you can see like there's this very distinct line where I switched from working flat and around because of the way that I do my pearls. And I'm left-handed, so I already knit kind of strangely compared to like a lot of the tutorial videos that I've seen, but I have taught myself to kind of knit right-handed, so I find it really comfortable to, when I'm doing my knits in a flat stockinette, let's just say, I can knit all the way across so that the material goes from this side of my body to that side of my needles. So that would be going from the right to the left, and then without turning or anything else, I go from the left to the right and I purl English style as if I was right-handed and I was knitting. So I may have to try to take a video of this for you guys for maybe another episode or something, but anyway, all that being said is that like it's fine if I'm doing stockinette and I'm just knitting and just purling, but when I'm doing any kind of rib, it gets a little complicated. And so on this portion, I was attempting to knit and purl as if I was a right-handed English style knitter, which was really weird, but it was kind of working for me. It was a lot less like shifting my material back and forth, and I can purl continentally as if I'm a left-handed person because I am, but I find for like long stretches of fabric, so usually like the entire body panel of stockinette, for example, I find it more comfortable for my arm and wrist and finger to not have to purl in the way that I might normally if I was doing ribbing or something. So anyway, I'm sure I'm not explaining this super well. I may just put in some B-roll, or maybe at the very end I'll do like a little bit of a, this is how I'm weird and I knit differently. I'm not sure, but yeah, if you guys do want to see that and I don't include it in this video, let me know, and if not, I won't hurt my feelings. But I am down to pretty much the end here because I have just the back to do and then just the sleeves. And I say just, I still have a lot to go because these sleeves are quite hefty, quite chunky, because they go all the way down to your wrist and they're a wide sleeve to begin with, and then you have like, I want to say close to 3 or 4 inches of folded over cuff that you do. So I have this one ball of Cascade 220 left over. Is non-superwash, and I love the smell of it, and I don't mind how rustic this is because I do think that it'll soften up a lot in blocking. I've been making myself resist doing any kind of mid-project block. I think there's a lot of pros for that, but I've also seen people say that like you only ever get one first block. After that, like it's never gonna be exactly the same as the first time you block. Like you can kind of get some resetting of the material and stuff, but that first block really like sets your project. So I am really resisting. This is gonna be an oversized sweater anyway, so I don't need it to fit perfect, and so I'm just waiting on that block till I can get everything like pinned the way I want it and the whole project is done and I can really soak it for a long time. So this is a sea sweater. I've got my last hank of yarn, and that should comfortably get me to the end of this project because these sleeves are fitting 3/4 length right now, and I don't foresee really having a lot of problems finishing the hem and doing the sleeves. So super excited for that. It is so gratifying to get to the end of a ball and be like, yes, I've hit a milestone, especially when you're working like really large sleeves or the body or something. Like, it's just nice to hit that checkpoint. One thing that I think is just kind of worth mentioning is, you know, if you're a new knitter, I only have been knitting for 2 years probably now, and it's so interesting because I know, like, my first video on here, don't go watch it, but like I would lose stitches off of my needles and I would freak out, and everything was like, oh my gosh, because in crochet, which is my original hobby that I came from, like, if your a hook gets lost from your work and you have like one loop that's wild, like, you're gonna be okay. But as somebody coming from crochet to knitting, I would have, you know, I'd lose stitches off of my needle, and I was like, oh, it's the end of the world. So I'm happy to report I was just about to bind off right here, and I noticed that my buttonhole that you make here in the hem, my husband's fixing a cupboard for me, so I can't complain, but sorry for the noise. But yeah, so this buttonhole here was actually like shifted. I think it was right here on the edge. Like, it was either right here on the edge or really in. It was to the point where it was gonna be very obvious. And so instead of freaking out, instead of thinking like, oh, I'm gonna have to yank back, you know, 6 rows or something, I just made sure I kept this little end stitch on hold. I do think that would have been kind of complicated for me to figure out still. And then I kept these other stitches, and I just dropped the 3 in the middle, laddered down, changed where my buttonhole was, and then re-knit back up, and it was fine. And it was just a little footnote in the conversation I was having with my husband over dinner. It was not like, my day was ruined. Like, it was great. So if you're newer, be encouraged. Every project that you make is a learning process. Bye. And you know, just because you don't quite have the skills that you want right now, like, take it step by step, and when you make mistakes, use those as an opportunity to play and learn and grow and get better. So anyway, that's all I have to say about the sea sweater, which was a lot. Sorry. I guess the only other project no, there's 2. I have 2 more works in progress. Knitting or crochet? I'll show you guys the crochet because it's actually been a work in progress longer than this. So this work in progress, as I mentioned earlier, I had been motivated to get things out of hibernation and into the world to become a finished object, to be usable, to get this yarn out of stash, out of closets, out from places where it was just stuffed, and into a space where it was actually being useful. So at the beginning of this podcast channel, I actually had made this beautiful, stunning blanket. Like, maybe don't go watch my old videos, but if you can find that one, it's worth checking out. I may try to go get like a screen record or something of that so you guys can see. But my friend had asked for a blanket, and so I could not find anywhere a mandalia style floral motif crochet blanket in the vein of what she was wanting. And so ultimately I found Annie's Attic, I believe is like the umbrella brand, but Annie's subscription kits. And they have this, let's see if I can, sorry for the crinkles. They have this beautiful mandalia motif floral blanket. The colors that I would have picked were out of stock for months. Like, I watched this kit just to see like if it would come in stock. There was a beautiful like green and blue and teal with maybe some yellow, which I'm not normally a fan of, but I would have been okay with in this context, because you can't get the pattern without buying the subscription kit and getting all of the subscription pieces. So after watching this subscription kit for weeks and weeks and weeks over the period of a month or two, I caved and I was like, I will just get this color. I mean, it's fine. I'm not really big into pink and blue, especially not like these shades of pink and blue. Like, they're not bad. And honestly, like, I've got pink and blue on, but I don't know, there's just something about this that it was like not really sparking joy for me. So long story short, I loved working on the one that I made for my friend. I thought that one was stunning. She and I went to Hobby Lobby, picked out a bunch of acrylic yarn. Acrylic is great for blankets. It's long wearing. It's cheap because with crochet, you use a ton of yarn. So she picked out all these wonderful, for lack of a better word, a bruise palette, like dark purple and pink and a green, but like a foresty green. Like, it was just a really stunning color palette that she chose. Loved it. And before we had a chance to go to the store to pick out her colors, I was getting these subscription packets with the pattern every month. And instead of just waiting and being like, yeah, I'm just gonna let this pile up and make the blanket for the first time when she gets her colors picked, I thought, yeah, I'll just start on it and get going. And so I had made the middle portion of this blanket, and it's a little sad because my tension's not quite perfect here, so it kind of looks like it's a nipple, but a boob. But yeah, so I had maybe gotten to like here or so before she and I had gone and picked out her colors. When we picked out her colors, this thing got abandoned. How do you eat an elephant? One bite at a time. So that's what I'm gonna do. So that's pretty much all I've been doing with this, is simply when I have time, when I'm not really interested in picking up my crochet or my knitting, I will pull out this and work a little bit, a row or half a row or whatever. It's really easy to pick up and put down. But yeah, I just want to get this done because it's taking up a lot of space in my cupboard, because I've got this whole thing plus 3-4 bags, mailer bags of yarn that I haven't used yet, plus scraps from the previous months. So I would really love to get this finished. I have not made a ton of progress since I did pick it back up. I have all 4 corners. Basically, I added from this light blue row, so 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 colors, and that was the back side I was showing you. 5 colors on all 4 corners, which is not bad. But it would be really nice if I could bust open next month's motif, which I was kind of showing you is, I don't think I did show you actually, but it's the triangle portion, which is actually really nice because I don't even have to haul this whole thing around to work on it. I just do the little flower in the middle and then build the triangle around it, and then we connect it later. So excited to get this going and turn into a usable item. And that is the Frosted Bloom blanket subscription kit by Annie's Subscription Kits. And hopefully it'll be done before winter comes, and maybe we can put it on my daughter's bed or something. And I think if I just talk about it whenever I come on here, like the LUCCA hat, I will be motivated to get it done and be tired of being like, yeah, I didn't do anything. So anyway, hold me to it, guys. Let's talk about the next whip. I'm super excited because I found out recently that I've been accepted into my very first test knit, which is a little nerve-wracking, but also I'm thrilled. And I know that it's gonna be fine because it's for a toddler, so I can totally nail this. Like, it's not gonna be too much pressure. It's not gonna be too much knitting, even though it is on a very lightweight, it's not a fingering weight, but it is a lighter gauge. But yeah, super excited. I will maybe make another video before my next one, just chit-chatting about that. But thank you to Sarah Noel Knits for allowing me to participate. I will be posting about that when the yarn arrives, and hopefully sharing more in a standalone video, or if not, then at least in the very next episode. So I think that's all I've got. Until next time, I hope you guys are having a beautiful summer. Thanks for staying tuned, and I'll catch you next time.